Enjoying his final days as China's leader should be Xi Jinping's priority. After 10 years in power, Xi would be required to stand down and give a new team the opportunity to steer the destiny of the country. The Chinese Communist Party has routinely replaced its senior leadership for decades, a mechanism essential to the prosperity of the country. The 20th Party Congress will be held in Beijing. Nonetheless, it is widely anticipated that Xi will defy tradition and keep his position as leader for at least another 5 years. Despite the fact that this departure from tradition has been discussed for years, the news may give some Washingtonians a fresh case of the chills. Under Xi, China has gone from being the US' prospective ally to its main strategic foe. The Chinese leader looks committed to using his country's recent affluence to challenge American economic dominance, technological superiority, military superiority, and even American preconceptions about the nature of the world order. 5 more years of Xi will very definitely result in 5 more years of rivalry between superpowers, if not outright conflict. This is the accepted wisdom. Washington, though, might want to be thankful that Xi is staying put. China's leader undoubtedly wants to reduce American dominance in the world, but he may not be doing enough to get his own nation ready to achieve that aim. The actual outcomes of his policies indicate that he is diminishing China as a rival to the United States, not increasing it. China may lose its competitive edge the longer Xi continues to lead the nation. It's easy to forget how poorly China has succeeded under Xi's leadership in almost every area of policy, despite the excitement about the country's rise. The economy has significantly slowed down. The top management has given up on achieving its formerly inviolable growth goal. The majority of the world's superpowers are now at odds with Xi's assertive foreign policy, and China's Asian neighbors are in fear. Xi's high-profile government initiatives suffer from waste and poor administration in large numbers. Because of Xi's governance, China's growth, which he has described as inevitable, is less likely, not more likely. Washington is lucky that Xi's overreach occurred at the right time. American global influence has likely never been more at risk since World War II than it has been in the past 5 years amid the party conflict and social unrest that has plagued the country. That chaos offered Xi the opportunity to increase Chinese influence at the expense of America. Instead, his measures have kept the United States in the game and, in some ways, improved its position internationally. The global alliance system of the United States, which has seen significant pressure, is perhaps stronger now than it has been in years, in part as a result of Xi's initiatives. As the only nation with the motivation and the means to challenge the US-led international order, Xi's China continues to pose a threat. However, the shortcomings of Xi's plan demonstrate that the commonly held belief that China's growth is as inevitable as American decline is oversimplified. Xi desires to go down in history as the person who destroyed the Pax Americana. He might actually wind up being the one to keep it safe. When Xi Jinping claimed power in 2012, the majority of China specialists believed that he would continue the incredibly successful route by Deng Xiaoping, the country's paramount leader, in the 1980s. A path centered on liberalizing economic reforms, integration with the global economy, and cooperation with the United States. Xi had prior experience with Deng's core tenet of reform and opening up, having worked as an official in some China's most prosperous districts. The fact that Xi had extended conversations with Joe Biden just before taking office gave the appearance that he prioritized China's positive relationship with Washington. But those initial beliefs have shown to be false as his rule has developed. Xi has departed significantly from the policies of his predecessors with his highly ideological, fervently nationalist, and obsession with political control. By doing this, he has profoundly and unexpectedly changed China's direction. Most significantly, Xi has completely changed China's foreign policy. He appears to think that China is now ready to take the lead as the world's most powerful nation. Xi views the United States as China's most serious foe rather than as a partner. Xi is presenting his own image of a Sino-centric alternative, one that is friendlier to authoritarian governments, rather than integrating China into the American-led global system. Notably, the Chinese president has developed a new bond with Vladimir Putin of Russia, whom Xi appears to feel can be an ally in his efforts to curtail American power. However, the US alliance have become stronger as China has become more overtly antagonistic to the future international order. In order to offset the threat that Xi poses, the world's democracies have been encouraged by Xi's goal to strengthen their links to the United States and to one another. The consequences of Xi's conduct don't appear to concern him. On his first international diplomatic trip since the coronavirus pandemic began in mid-September, Xi chose to visit Putin, snubbing the United States and its allies in Europe. Additionally, he has continued his undiplomatic diplomacy, which occasionally has included threats and demands made by his appointees. Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi condemned Canberra's irresponsible words and conduct for the two nations, deteriorating relations during a meeting with his Australian counterpart in July. According to one official Chinese version of the talk, he continued by saying that he may be improved if Australia avoided being controlled by any third party, which would be the US. Soon after, China's foreign ministry issued a direct warning to the United States that it would pay the price for House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's trip to Taiwan, which Beijing saw as an infringement on its sovereignty. The Beijing administration regards Taiwan as being part of China. A top Chinese official urged the Israeli envoy to Beijing a few days later not to let the United States influence Israel's strategy toward China by making the crude assertion that both the Chinese and Jews share a common grievance as victims of the West. According to a recent Pew Research Center survey of 19 nations, largely major democracies, China's reputation has dramatically declined as a result of all of this. Additionally, Xi himself does poorly, with many respondents in these nations expressing little to no confidence in his ability to do the right thing in foreign affairs. Xi isn't doing much better at home, particularly with China's economy. Under his leadership, growth has drastically slowed. The economy expanded by 7.8% in 2012, the year he took office, but this year, the IMF only expects a modest 3.3% growth. As the economy matured, a slowdown in growth was certainly expected, but Xi's measures have undoubtedly made things worse. The end of state intervention in the economy and China's opening to foreign trade and investment, which encouraged the private sector, were major factors in the country's decades-long economic boom. To some extent, Xi has turned it around, sufficiently so to undermine some of the most dynamic economic sectors and direct resources and expertise into useless projects, like a number of state-led industrial programs. The significantly increased regulatory burden put on private enterprises is the most evident indication of that transition. While some of it has good intentions, ensuring, for example, that food delivery employees receive better treatment, everything has been introduced clumsily and has slowed the growth of some of the most significant businesses in the nation. An injunction prohibiting these companies from profiting from teaching essential courses to the majority of pupils has caused layoffs and significant financial losses in the once thriving private education sector, which provided after-school classes for college-hungry children. The share price of one well-known technology company, the ride-hailing service Didi Xuxing, has fallen by more than 80% since its initial public offering or IPO a year ago as a result of harassment from a cybersecurity investigation and its limits on its activities. The development of a semiconductor sector that is sophisticated enough to make the nation self-reliant is one of these state-driven initiatives that has received the most attention and has been beset by corruption. It has so far only made little headway toward catching up to American industry leaders and hasn't even come close to lowering China's reliance on imported chips. The most significant vulnerability of the economy, its broken growth model, has also been made worse by Xi's evident mistrust of free market reforms. Economic experts from around the world and Chinese policymakers have long warned that China's growth depends too much on investment, which is frequently excessive and debt-driven and wastes money on undeed homes, companies, and infrastructure. When the economy slowed down below the preferred target set by the party, Xi continued the practice of injecting credit into it, and he is now paying the price. Under Xi's leadership, debt has sharply increased, virtually tripling from 2012 levels that were less than twice as high as the national output. In the bloated but essential property industry, the effects are starting to show. A crisis at one of the industry's titans, Evergrande, was caused by a government effort to control heavily indebted developers last year. The sector's problems have since worsened. The instability of the sector poses a risk to the wealth of the country's middle class as well as to the nation's banks, which are heavily invested in property-related lending. This is because developers are defaulting, property sales are declining, real estate is falling, and new construction is slumping. Families all around the nation recently went on a mortgage strike, postponing payments on unfinished apartments out of anxiety that crash-strapped builders will never finish them, in a striking sign of waning public confidence. Amid the strain of quarantines and joblessness, domestic discontent has reached an unusually high level. When the government attempted to impose the 2-month COVID shutdown of Shanghai earlier this year, it encountered strong opposition. Residents who were confined to their homes protested to severe regulations by banging pots and pans and screaming out their windows. Testing facilities have been targeted by vandals in Beijing, where citizens must still provide proof of a recent negative COVID test in order to use the metro or dine at a restaurant. In some cases, "Give me liberty or give me death" has been written on the testing facilities. The reasons for the public's discontents are not just the lockdowns. After their bank deposits were frozen due to a local financial scandal in July, hundreds of demonstrators gathered in the country's capital city of Zhengzhou. The evidence of growing dissatisfaction with Xi's administration is, of course, anecdotal. It is hard to know what the Chinese people truly think about Xi Jinping in a country without free expression and a free press. However, the readiness of common people to run the risk of retaliation for their acts of defiance. In Zhengzhou, anonymous thugs attacked protesters with what appeared to be local authorities' complicity. It's a sign of how angry people are with the way things are going in China right now. None of these issues with diplomacy, the economy, or society seem likely to prevent Xi from winning a third term. They might, however, introduce uncertainty into his rule, like his pal Putin. Xi may become a greater menace as China's economic decline. In an effort to solidify his hold on power, Xi has leaned toward nationalism. Because of this, Beijing has stepped up its rhetoric on matters like Taiwan and relentlessly propagandized against the United States through its state media and foreign ministry. To divert public anger over his domestic failings, Xi needs adversaries overseas. Washington faces risk and opportunities from Xi's continued dominance. The best course of action will be to prevent tensions from rising to the point of war while taking advantage of Xi's errors to increase American influence. This strategy requires a fine balance and is potentially violent. However, if Washington controls the situation well, it could be able to benefit from Xi's reign while making China pay for it. From our discussion, what have you learned? Please let me know by leaving a comment below. And if you enjoyed this video, please press the like button, turn on the notification bell, and subscribe to Wealth-ology for more videos like this. Thank you for stopping by to watch. See you in our next video. Bye!